So now that we have finished our wooden shader here, or at least this material generator, let's call it this way, we will create a new one for the glossy parts. So what I will do is I will just duplicate those here, those nodes. Press Alt P to get them out of this frame, and I will duplicate this. Here is the base output. I've downloaded two new maps from from texture.com. So there will be listed in this text file. You have the link to download them, which will come with the different files for this course. So here I have this one and this one that we will use to give some more interesting features to our object here. But the first thing I would like to do is to get our nails to appear in the right color. So we'll load a new map, which will be our masks, or GB mask, let's call it this way, which will be useful at the very end. I will make it green, shield the mask, and we'll use a converter separate RGB, and so it allows us to create those masking, which is really good. So this one is the one we are looking for. We have the metal part here and those that we were looking for. So I will push this, and what I want is to mix my base color here with a new color. So based on the red input here, output, sorry. And I want to mix it, so in this way, with a bluish color. And we use the color option here. Get this right. So as you can see, it will change the color of the object, but it will keep the labels, the value of the color. So I will make it slightly less saturated to get to something more metallic. And so when I mute this, you can see the difference. So maybe a little more purplish in the hue here to get closer to what we have painted. And now I'm really close to it, but I do have my nails here with the right color. So this is my new base color here. So it replaced the old one. I will move this here and move this here. So let's see how it looks with our previous. I think I'd like to have a little more of pointiness here. So we'll increase the overlay so that those areas really get whiter, the highlights. And here, this was our wooden texture. So I wish, and I will use other texture here. So let's open the first one, which was the metal bear. So currently using the UV might not be the best way. So I will duplicate this, press Alt H or Control H to open it in a way. We will use the generated coordinates instead of the UV here. So I will reset everything. And instead of flat mapping here, which make distortion on the border, we will use the box mapping. And it creates some kind of pretty, how to say it, pretty strong seams here. So what we can do is increase the blending option here that make it blending softly. So I will increase it to the maximum or nearly to the maximum. And maybe I wish the pattern was a little smaller, so I will increase those size here. And I don't want this line to cross my object because it's crossing on top of the center part here. So we'll just move it on the x-axis, for example. Oh, I'm rotating it here, x location. So we get those decals on those areas, but I like it. I think it's not that bad because the wooden texture will be set with our previous texture, so it won't be flowing all over the place here. We'll just have it on those small area, and in kind of looks like the scratches. I don't think it will be defined and understood as some plates joining together. So let's duplicate this node and load the other texture. And this time, let's reset everything here again. We'll try to use the generated coordinates with the box projection, reduce the sampling, and reduce the size by increasing those values currently. So I don't like the way it blends on the border here. It looks really stretched. So let's try with the UVs and switch to flat here because box doesn't really work with UV coordinates. And now I do prefer how it looks because here we have a very nice mapping of those. They are too big for sure. Okay, like this will be okay. And we should have some issues based on the UV. If you can see here, I have my seam because I had to cut this part in two different parts so that it doesn't get stretched too much on the UV image editor. So if we check how it looks here, fortunately we don't have, in this area, we don't have seams appearing, while on this side, here we can see it. So what we can do is to make sure that we're happy with the result, which I am. Maybe increase the size a little bit. And I will use some noise texture to blend this map. But let's say we are happy with this. We'll bake it, and then with the clone brush, we'll get rid of the seams. So let's bake this. We'll add a new texture, image texture, looking for the baker map we had before, so we don't have it anymore. So we'll create a new map. Now in the node editor, we'll load this Rust. And here, as in render mode, I have this emission shader due to the node Wrangler viewer here. I will just bake on this map the emission. So the emission, I will close this. 12 and 5, that's fine. Let's bake it. It will bake really fast. And now we'll go into texture paint mode. So we'll use the clone brush, the first one. Make sure in the slot here that you're not on image, because it will load the latest image we have paint on. You can select the rust, for example, if you want, shield rust, or use here the material as a source and select the shield rust map. So how this brush is supposed to work is that you will source an area pressing holding Control and clicking with the left click, and then when you will paint, it will duplicate based on the viewport the area you've sourced. So if you turn the camera, it will paint another area. It's pretty strange. So just work, let's say, progressively on this. Now in the UV image editor, I press Alt S to save this map. Get back to my node editor. So Blender just crashed, but it doesn't matter. So I have this image slot with the shield rust here. I will get rid of those. Plug the UV. And Control Shift click this. And now we can start playing with it. So we have this nice rust that is mixed with our base color. And we'll add Shift D, this one also, on top of it. So with one factor. And I like the way it goes. So it makes the shield very, very rusty here. But we can play with the color using a hue and saturation, for example, and change the color to something else so that it doesn't looks like that much to rust. And now we'll work on the shading of the object. So we'll add, as usual, a shader, diffuse shader. We'll add a shader glossy, which will be one of the most important. Here we will use again our normal map, Alt P, and I will put it here and plug the diffuse. Let's see how it looks. Already looks very nice. Shadow will mix those two very quickly. We use a very low value of roughness for the glossy so that it's mirror-like for the time being, and a mixing value of 0.2 will be enough, maybe. So our main work here will be to play with the roughness for the glossy. So let's check how the glossy looks right now. We'll add, as usual, a color RGB curve here and use our base color, make it really brighter, and use it as a color for the glossy. Now what I would like is to use this map, and the AO to drive the roughness of the glossy. Let's duplicate the AO and use some reroute. So you have in the layout here the reroute, which are just some points that will allow you to reroute the node actually. So the darkest area, as usual, will be the more rough. So it will be, oh, I used the cavity here while I was looking for the AO, sorry. So the darkest area of the AO will be the roughest for the glossy. So I will duplicate those mix value we have created before. And let's say that we want for the white area here a value of 0.01, and let's try 0.2 for the time being for the roughness of the dark area. So for the time being I can't really see the result, but with those two here we're going to have something really cool. So let's add a converter color ramp. We'll now play with the first map, so this one. So I will contrast it a lot and try to keep some white area as white as possible, so that we keep this mirror effect, and in some area it goes really blurry. So let's add the color mix RGB set to multiply. And now we have both our AO and this rust map, let's call it this way, that will drive the value of the roughness. So let's check how it looks. So now you can really see the difference of roughness here. And we'll also use our rust here. So let's add a new mix and a new color ramp, also set to multiply. And let's plug this here. So this is going to be our roughness factor. So we'll use the same map to also mix our glossiness with our roughness. So this is our roughness node 3 here, which is pretty simple. AO and 2 map multiplied. We'll duplicate this. Check our diffuse, which was here, which already has this mix shader. We'll plug the glossy here. So from what is outputted here, I want the black area to be more diffuse. So that's right here. And the white to be the glossy one. So let's try here our minimum and maximum value. So value of 0.2 is a bit strong, I think. 0.1 should be nice. We have this glossiness working on, but not too strong. And maybe a 0.5 for the highlight will be good, I think so. So the darkest area will be 0.1 and the brightest 0.5. I will use here this output as a factor, and this is going to be our mixing values for the glossy and the diffuse. And now we should have our material done. We now just need to mix this newly created metallic node 3 with the basic wood here. So let's just add here a mix shader, and we'll use again our mask. Try to find the layer, the output that correspond to the wood. Here it is. So let's use this blue to mix. What is white will be the wood, so I set it on the bottom input, and here on the top input. Let's check, and I think it looks quite nice now. Maybe the rust here is a bit too intense, I don't know. We can play with it. So now that we have done all of this, we could have added some bumpiness based on the on those maps here, but I like to keep the metal pretty soft here and play only with the roughness. I think it's enough to get this those gloss variation here. We kind of feel like there is already bumpiness. So maybe I'll check if I can add it. Now I need to figure out how we will be able to output this bump map, because I would like to push the model to Sketchfab, and Sketchfab can't handle both normal and bump map. And we'll also check how we'll create our diffuse and how we create our glossy, etc., and output them as basic map. But for the time being, we have this nice renderable shield